privacy. The gospel today we read that when Jesus lifted up his eyes and saw the crowd coming to him, his heart was filled with pity for them. And he said to Philip, how can we feed this crowd? And Philip said, well, even 200 wages earning will be enough to feed this crowd. And Andrew said, but there is a boy here who had 5 barley loaves and some fishes. But what is it for this big crowd? Jesus said, tell the people to recline. He took the bread, took the fish, he gave thanks, and gave them to people to eat. When they had their fill, he said to the apostles, collect the leftovers. Nothing can go to waste. And they filled 12 wicker baskets. It fed over 5,000. Now when we hear that, we say, it's impossible. Because if you have 5 loaves and cut them in pieces, you don't even fill one basket, one will you fill 5 at 12. We are going to see this fulfillment of the prophecy as we look at the first reading. The prophet Elijah, who was the disciple of the prophet Elijah. We know that he was with the people, and there were nothing that they can eat. So somebody brought some food there, corns and so forth. He said, give to the people to eat. And his servant said, but there are only few things, and there is 100 people here. He said, give the food to people to eat. Because the Lord said, not only they will eat, but there will be leftovers. And so they did what the prophet did, and there was leftovers. And that was the prophecy of what took place in the real prophet, in the one and only prophet, Jesus Christ. When he saw the crowd come to him, his heart was moved to pity, and he fed those people. And we know that that is the miracle of the multiplication, we know. But today I'd like to go with that second reading, because if we don't understand that second reading, we really understand what Jesus is trying to make up to us. And we see that reading reminds us of how much we are called to unity. Unity with Him, with God, and with one another. And we see how St. Paul begins with the Ephesians. I, prisoner of the Lord. So St. Paul is not having a picnic, he is in prison. And as a prisoner, he is calling on the new Christians to strive for one thing in their life, and that is unity. And he says, strive for unity and bear with one another. You remember that we are all different. We have different backgrounds, we come from different walks of life, and we have different temper, we have different, as we say, situations that we have, and we know that sometimes we annoy one another with our presence, even sometimes with our mouths. And sometimes, we make people feel that, very, very discomfort. But although all of this is true, we need to bear with one another. St. Paul says, do this because this is the kind of manner a true Christian must be. That by humility, by gentleness, and by patience, we really prepare ourselves for that eternal happiness. By humility. When I look at myself in front of God, I feel so horrible. Because I have nothing to offer to God but sin. I am a sinner, and with you, in the beginning of the Mass, I say, I have sinned through my thoughts, through my words, through my actions. And I don't blame the parish. And I don't blame Janet. And I don't blame my dogs. And I don't blame some people. I took full responsibility of my actions. And that is important. Because sometimes, we want to justify ourselves. by saying it is the fault of this one, it is the fault of that one, and I did this because of this and this and this. That goes back to the first sin. Huh? She gave you to eat. It's like, you're dumb, you don't know how to reason and think for yourself. You have to. But the thing is this, that's the way it is. So humbleness means that I find myself in front of God as a pauper. That's why he said, blessed are those who are poor in spirit. Poor, because everything I have is not mine. God gave them to me for a reason, that I will pass them on to others. And this is the idea of humbleness, that free we receive, and free we are ought to give to each other. The second one is gentleness. Oh, how much I pray for them. Gentleness, to be a gentleman, to be somebody who really knows how to persuade people and talk to people and do the things that you like to do and present the challenge of our faith for many people. With patience. When God gave that virtue, I was at lunch. I had no patience whatsoever. And St. Paul said, be patient. And he said to be patient, but if you look at his life, he was the most impatient person you want to meet in front of the earth. Because he himself, went out of his way to show that in different instances. But be patient. And then it says, strive for unity among you. So when there is division among Christians, there is no rest. Where we are gathering together as a clique, or as a group of people against other people, there is no Jesus there. Jesus does not belong in division. He belongs in unity. And that's why he said, because all of us are called by virtue of baptism to have one baptism. We all are baptized in the same Trinity. We are all called to have one faith. That's why Jesus said, I come to establish one church, not 450 churches, as we see around Christians. One church. Because we are called for one gathering. Each one of us are going to drink from one loaf, are going to drink from one cup. We also are called to be with one Lord. Jesus is the Lord of each one of us. And the last one is that we call God our Father. That if He is our Father, means we are brothers and sisters with Him. Now, how we are going to apply this, dear people, as St. Paul said, because you are part of the Paschal mystery, part of the dying and rising of Jesus. Every time we receive a sacrament, we participate in that dying and rising of Jesus. And because of that, we know that each one of us are preparing for that great encounter with Him at the end of times. Now, how we are going to apply this to the life of death? We are living in a world today, dear people, that those who have, they will do more. And those who have none, they remain with none. Why? Because of the greed of those who have. My dear people, remember that the greatest gift that we have is the gift of that love that the Father has for us. He loves us so much that after He created us in His own image, and we have turned our back on Him, in the fullness of time He sent His Son, who like us become pauper, He become like us, subject to this planet. I don't want to mention what we are subject to. He like us, He ate. He like us, was sick. He was like us, was hurt. He was everything like us but sick. And He was so obedient to the Father, not only to lower Himself and become nothing, but to even obedient to Him to the cross. And because He was obedient to the cross, and He died for you and me, God gave Him the power of the resurrection. which is the hope of each one of us. In Jesus, we have the hope of everlasting life. When we look at our own families, dear people, we see why our pews are empty. Because if the family is not, let me say, according to the principles of values, that's going to affect society and going to affect more the church. Look at the family today. A family, some of them are divided because of separation. Some of them are single mothers who cannot even begin to think how she managed to be the breadwinner, to be the disciplinarian, and to take care of all the that entails in the raising of a family. Some of them are husband and wife living together. Husband wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, out of the house at 6, and you don't see them before 6 o'clock because not only he has to work, but he has to contact with the traffic. If I work in Philadelphia, the following day I will be with you. No, I will never stay in that traffic, so horrible traffic. So he comes so tired because of work and all the traveling, and he sits in his chair there, doing something, the remote, the television in his hands. Of course, his wife is still coming from work, or she is there preparing dinner. They will have dinner. Some of them, they will have dinner on the chair, watching television. Some in their rooms. Some, they will eat later because they are not there. Of course, everything is going on in the family. He is new to everything because he's tired. And the wife says to him something is like he's hearing and not hearing. All of a sudden, she's taking all the full responsibility. It goes beyond her strength. And so what happened? The children begin to do whatever they want. Who is here? Who is there? And there is no control. This is what's going on with the family. The mother is the driver of everything because sometimes the father is tired and wants to go. And she's beyond himself what she does accomplish, what she wants to do. If you ask them about God, they will tell they have no time. They are so preoccupied. You need to work, Father, we need to work. This week I had the pleasure to meet one of the workers who was doing something for me, and I asked him about, I just have words last week. I said, what was the cause? She said that I have no time for her. So what do you mean by that? Well, I like to work. I said, do you have time on the weekend? Oh no, I do weekend I work. I said, what time you have with her? After 9. She's very upset. I said, what do you expect? You didn't marry a machine, you marry a wife. But sometimes, she wants to see you home. She wants to have a nice dinner with you or go out and so forth. So what do you expect? Well, she said, I know, but I like to work. That's the mentality of someone. And then all of a sudden, you see that there is no God in the family. And their children are raised like things. Believe me, when I say the truth, it's the truth. Because sometimes when we meet them at CCD or whatsoever, you are like dealing with that war. They don't know A from B. And the other thing is that we are not founding our families on a good moral foundation. Church is not you come to church because you have to. You come to church because we know God is good to us. And because He is so good to us, we need not only to experience His love, but we are strengthened by His love to do His bidding, to do His work. Is not what we say in the catechism? This is what's missing in the lives of many people. They don't know the teaching of the church. The teaching of the church is not based on commandments. It's based on love. To know God is to love God. And to love Him is to serve Him. And to serve Him in this life is the guarantee of life eternal with Him. They have no time. Some would say to you, Father, when they grow up, they will find their faith. How can they choose a faith if they don't have an experience know what the church offers. How can I make a choice? Yes or no? Well, they don't want to go to church. They're not going to have a fight with them every morning because they want. Who is the parent in the house? Where were you when they were 2 or 3 years of age? Where were you when they begin to act up and you need to put your foot down? Children are all like a plant. If you are going to buy a plant, the plant is nice, but before you know it, after 2 weeks, if you leave it in the wind, it's going to be like this. Like many of you know, the tree that we had last week, oh my God, the trees, some of them bad. And you need to straighten them out. And you don't do it when he is 18, you do it when he is 3, 2, 1. And you need to understand that you are the one who sent it home in the house. They can have games how much they want. We are going to have church. We are going to have dinners together. We are going to have talks together. We are going to recreate together. Yes, we are going to go vacation together, not you stay here and I go vacation. This is what's missing in the life of family today. There is no priorities. And when we don't give them a foundation of a moral life, they don't know how to act. And they pick up relativism. Everything is all right. If I am not hurting you, I am not doing nothing wrong. Oh, many people say, well, the church is a bunch of commandments and precepts. Don't do this and don't do that. If you have love in your heart, listen carefully, if you have love in your heart, you don't need someone to tell you don't kill. Because you know that killing is murder and it is not love. If you have love in your heart, you don't say somebody is going to steal. Because stealing is not love. If you have love in your heart, you don't need to tell you, don't cheat on your life, on your loved one. Because you know that that is not love. People think that the church is a bunch of commandments and precepts. It's just one command. Love one another as I have loved you. That is the summon of all that we are about. And we are motivated by that. Now how can we apply today's readings in our daily lives? Very simple. Many of us say, well, that's why we have social services. Or that's why we have the church. They make collections to help those who are poor. Or we have agencies. What about you who claim that you are in the church? By virtue of baptism, you become a member of the church. What are you doing when four doors down the road of where you live, the house where you live, there is an old woman there who is living on a fixed income. She has been widowed for a long time. Why don't pick up the phone? Or why you cutting the grass? Or why you going out? Or why you see her coming in and out to pick up the paper? You say, hello, Mira, how are you today? And begin that relationship with her. What about send your son to cut her grass or to shovel her driveway? If something happened to her, and an emergency comes and ambulance, and they cannot get in because of the ice that is in front of her house. What about you are cooking a good dinner? Put an extra potato and a piece of meat there. A little casserole. Go and knock and say, Mary, listen, I cooked this, I was thinking of you. And you build a relationship. Call that person if you don't see her, to see if she's all right. This is what we need to do, dear people. We need to take care of one another. We need to take care of one another. This is what builds community. And this is why I am very proud of you here at St. Rita. When I make an appeal to you from the order for somebody who is in need, you come and you come very seriously to help. My dear people, keep that good quality. As St. Paul last Sunday, he really put so much blessing on the people who help the Church of Jerusalem. This is what we need to do in order to understand what community is all about. If we claim that we are brothers and sisters, not not just in words, but let's live it, let's make it tangible. And then when people see what we do, especially your children, we teach by example, not by words. Go to church, go to Sister Day. Let's go as a family. Let's do it together. We are going to pass to the next generation the gift that we have, the gift of Jesus. My dear people, we are responsible of the church of tomorrow. And we are responsible because tomorrow will come before we know it. In fact, today is the threshold of tomorrow. And we are going to be accountable for this life that we are living here. Because the Lord is not going to tell us how much masses you attend or how much mass I said or I preach. At the end of the journey, He's going to call on you. When you arrive at His throne, I was hungry. I was thirsty. I was ill and in prison. What you did to make me feel comfortable. And there will be no excuse. Lord, I was busy. Lord, I didn't know. Lord, I don't know that in that bomb that was you. Oh Lord, I didn't know that this is. And I conclude with the story of St. Martin de Tours. St. Martin, who was not even a Christian yet, he's from France. He was engaged in the battle against Spain, and as he was coming home one day, tired on his horse, nothing in his pocket, he turned around the corner and there was a beggar. Reach out to him. And he said, I have nothing to give you. And then he thought to himself, I am coming home and then going to do work tonight. This fellow has nothing to work himself in. So he took his sword and slit his cloak and gave him part of his cloak and threw it to the beggar. That very night, Jesus appeared to Martin. Remember, he is not Christian yet. And he said to him, Martin, well done. Whatever you did to that person today, you did it to me. And guess what? The face of Jesus was the face of the beggar he saw at the corner. My dear people, God come to us in the skies. And now it's up to you and me not to harden our hearts in front of those who comes to us in their needs. I remind you one thing. He who was rich, because he was God, become poor. So the three who are paupers, who are poor, will become rich. Let's together try to build a healthy society. Try to build healthy families. So tomorrow will be a promised one. A promised one that based on love. And if there is love, everything is possible. Jesus said, as the church said to us in the opening prayer, that without Him, nothing is possible. Nothing is holy. I received some letters this week and they complained about the talk that I gave last Sunday about I always speak about money. Well, that's me. The only thing is, if I have it, I don't ask you for it. And they told me that the first question that they put, the first comment that they put is, of course, you bishops and priests take full responsibility because your bad decision caused so much harm in the church. You want money so that you can give to the bishop to pay off for these cases that they have badly. First and foremost, when they sue the church, they don't sue for allowance of thousands, but they sue for millions. What are the millions here? Number two, oh, you have so much flowers on the altar, and you cry for money. If this person who watched the video, because that's what she said, I saw you on your video, she does not read the bulletin. That means she does not go to church. Hello? And so she does not know that these flowers are donated by people. And today the flowers are donated by the Nawara government. Number two, I am very, very careful with money. At Christmas and Easter, you give me money for the flowers, do you know? I don't spend it all. And some is left from the money of Christmas and Easter. Sometimes there is $7,000 left from all the money you gave. That money is restricted. And so I cannot buy a pew, but I have to pay it for flowers, because that's what you said. Flowers for the altar. So there is the money. So that is not part of the budget, it's a wash-out. You give it to me, and I spend it according to your way. The third one said to me that, oh, you have to understand too, that it's not in your time, that in 25 years down the road, maybe there will be healing, and will become one that you always say. But if that is the case, tomorrow and 25 from now will never be unless you, who is listening to me, become the agent of bringing that unity among us. Peace does not begin there, peace begins here. And this business of Family Life Church was closed, and that's why I'm bitter. As I have said to all those who are still crying after these months and years of merger, grow up, people. This downsizing is being done by everybody. It's on the secular and even on the aggressive. It's being done at your work. It's being done at your home. You're leaving your home to go an apartment. And so the church cannot afford these big buildings when there is no one in them. So bring them all together, and the other buildings will go so that they will be affordable. So I hope I answered all her questions, or all her questions that they wrote to me. I'm sorry to say that to you, but she said that she is watching the movie with me, the homily on the website. Thank you for watching, but I want you to go to church. Read the bulletin, that's why I printed. I spent 2 days on that bulletin. So read it and you have all the information that you need. But don't blame the church if we are taking the money of the parish to pay off the sin of the priest. Thank God that our bishops before us, they were smart enough to invest. And from that investment, this settlement came to be. Because in few weeks, I am going to give you in the bulletin what comes in and what comes out. And you will see where the money is going. It's not going nowhere but remain here at St. Peter to pay the expenses that we have and the obligation that we have in the diocese. God bless you.